All right, folks. So we have started our new unit, the Renaissance. And the Renaissance is that fancy French word that means rebirth. Now, what it's talking about is that time period right after the Middle Ages when you had the plague happen, you had the Crusades happen, people are realizing that, hey, people are dying, life is short. They still believed their religion was important to them and Christianity was important to them, the church was important to them. But they also started to look around and say, hey, life is short. Let's enjoy our life right now. Let's enjoy the human things, enjoy the natural things of the world. And so they started looking back into art, okay, specifically literature and art of the ancient Greeks and ancient Romans. They started exploring humanism, right, studying people, trying to make their art more realistic, realism. They started using perspective, right, different layers in their artwork to make things 3D. Now, it didn't stop with the art and like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci and Raphael and Donatello and all these other guys. It didn't stop there. It moved on into science and technology, a rebirth of learning in science and technology. So let's talk a little bit about that. So that guy Da Vinci, not just a great painter, but he's also an inventor. And he dabbled around a little bit of science. He left behind sketchbooks, tons of designs of technology and ideas for technology long before those technologies actually even existed. He had ideas for them. So he kind of dabbled in, had sketches and designs for flying machines. He had designs for helicopters, parachutes, instruments. I don't know why I was blanking on that term. Instruments. He loved to invent and design ideas for weapons, tanks, armored cars, giant crossbows. Okay, and we'll look at a couple of these inventions later. But some of these he was able to invent and create. Some of them he just had the sketches. He didn't get to them. Obviously, we have giant crossbows here. He loved to invent or sketch ideas for weapons for warfare. Flying machines. Okay, here was his blueprints for a helicopter he didn't make, but he wanted to. Here we have an armored car or tank that he designed. Scuba suits, diving suits, okay, to go down into the ocean. We see, different flying machines, parachutes, all kinds of different sketches. We're also going to see some other technological inventions from other people that are going to absolutely change the world. One, for example, is the printing press, developed specifically the one developed by Johannes Gutenberg. He was a German inventor, and there were printing presses and printers where they could make books or newspapers or little flyers and stuff. But the problem was, in order to do that, what you had to do was you had to sketch out or carve into wood blocks or metal blocks, depending on how you're doing it, what you wanted the page to say. Then you had to dip that in ink and then dip that on the paper. It took a really, really long time. What Gutenberg did, so that was the one option if you were going to use the technology, use the printing presses of the time. The other option was to write a book by hand. So you were going to have to pay somebody to sit there and copy a book, word for word, letter for letter, for hours and hours and hours and hours and weeks and sometimes months and years until that book was ready. That's going to make the book really expensive. But what Gutenberg did is he made a machine where you could basically take a block, move the letters around inside of it, dip that in ink, and then make a page. Then you could move the letters around again to make it say whatever you wanted. And that sped up the process and made books much quicker and much cheaper to create. So his machine, Johannes Gutenberg, making a printing press with movable type, is going to change the world. It's going to make books easier and quicker to produce. It's going to make them cheaper, which means more people can buy books, which means more people learn how to read and write. Because in the Middle Ages, a lot of people not learning how to read and write. Only the rich, because books were expensive. But now the books are cheap. We can get books to more people. More people learn how to read and write. More people join in on this renaissance, this learning that's going on. Okay? Here's kind of a puppet video of how Gutenberg's invention works. You can check that out if you want. Changed a lot of people's lives because it helped people learn how to read and write. Real quick, you do have a quick assignment for Gutenberg. It is a class kick, so check it out. Find it on the Canvas page. It's a quick article about Johannes Gutenberg. On the first slide is the article, so you can read that. Questions are on the next slide. Okay. So for multiple choice, just use the pen, okay, and circle the right answer for the question. And then for question number 8, you're going to type in that box, okay, to answer. You can find all the answers on the previous slide. Okay. Sorry, slide number 1. When you're done with that, just click the little hand raise button and I'll check it. Okay, give you your points. Now back to the Renaissance, back to the science and technology. There also was a lot of work in astronomy, the study of space, the planet and the stars. So guys like Nicholas Copernicus, they were supporting ideas of ancient scientists from back in the days of the ancient Greeks and the ancient Romans, and kind of adding new discoveries, okay, especially to astronomy. And we're going to see a couple of those. Nicholas Copernicus, he lived in the Renaissance. He developed a concept or kind of a model of a heliocentric solar system. Heliocentric, this word right here, helio means sun. Okay. Heliocentric solar system means all the planets move around the sun. Some of you guys are like, I've known that since like 3rd grade. Why didn't people know that? Well, they didn't have the most advanced telescopes. They didn't have satellites. Nobody had been to space yet. So people are just looking up at the night sky and trying to map and chart stars and planets and doing their best with simple instruments to try to measure all them. And during times like the Crusades and the plague and stuff like that, and all the fighting among the barbarian kingdoms, they didn't really have a whole lot of time for science and to study and to learn. But now in the Renaissance, they're kind of slowed down, take a step back, and they're starting to value learning about the natural world. Now, folks, some people at the time, they didn't believe in a heliocentric model. They actually believed in a geocentric. Geocentric means Earth at the center, everything goes around Earth. Now, why some people were confused about that is because when the Earth spins, it gives the illusion that the sun is moving in the sky, and the stars move, and the other planets move around us, when really what's happening there is the Earth is just spinning really, really fast and spinning every single day. But in reality, the Earth and the other planets are moving around the sun. Okay, they're orbiting it. Well, guys like Copernicus, he figures this out using math, using instruments, measuring things in the sky, charting them. He's labeled as a heretic or a liar by the Roman Catholic Church. The Christian Church says, no, he's a heretic, he's a liar. Okay? Because he believed in a heliocentric model, where Earth at the center. Sorry, heliocentric, the sun at the center. Getting mixed up here. I gotta slow down. All right, this next guy, Galileo. He's another astronomer and inventor, and he's going to study the stars and the planets as well. Okay, and you can watch that video on the Pear Deck there that's on Canvas to learn a little bit more about him. He invented his own telescope, his own kind of telescope. He's also going to discover some of the moons that are circling and orbiting around Jupiter. He studied Saturn and its rings. He observed the phases and the rotation of Venus. He's also going to study the spots on the sun, which it's not smart to stare at the sun. He didn't know this, but eventually he did go blind from doing that. Galileo's observation strengthened his belief in Copernicus' theory. His data that he added to it made a lot of other people start to believe Copernicus, that the Earth and the other planets revolved around the sun, and more people moved towards heliocentrism. Okay. So he was heliocentric, that the sun was the center. Okay. All right. Now, folks, he was also labeled a heretic and placed on house arrest. Okay, so the church didn't like his model either. But eventually, people will move to a heliocentric model. Like, obviously, today. We've been to space, we have satellites, we've taken pictures of the sun, we've mapped the movement of the planets, and we know. Okay, these guys were just a little bit ahead of their time. Now, folks, in honor of all these guys who are adding to science and inventing really cool stuff that really helped the world, your assignment, okay, it's called the Shark Tank Renaissance Developments. Okay, In class, we watch some clips of Shark Tank, which is where people have business ideas or invention ideas, and they go and they pitch their ideas to wealthy people who will give them money to start a business. If you need examples of what that looks like, email me. I will send you some YouTube clips of Shark Tank. Basically, what we're pretending is that you have been invited to appear on Shark Tank, and you're going to present your ideas for new inventions, items that do not already exist, that will be beneficial to our progressing culture. So this is modern day. We're not even traveling back in time for this one. This is modern day. In the spirit of the Renaissance and discovering new things and inventing new things, you're going to pitch a brand new invention. Okay. The best overall invention, we'll vote on them. We'll pitch them to the class who are investors. We'll take home a prize of over $1 million. Just kidding. Maybe if there's any money left on that Chipotle gift card, maybe the winner can get a couple bucks that's left on that. We'll see. I might have gotten hungry before then. But basically, what you need to do for your invention is create either a poster or a Google Doc or a flyer or a Canva or maybe a commercial or some kind of presentation with a description of how your invention works, how it connects to one of the 4 Renaissance developments, which I'll show you in a second. It has to be creative and original. Can't be something that already exists. You have to visually represent it, some kind of drawing, some kind of picture, image, it's colorful. And then while you're describing it in your written part of the work, I do need you to pay attention to your spelling and grammar. Use Google, use Google Docs to help you, okay? Those kind of things. Now, you have to show me how it works. You have to, it has to be creative and original. You have to draw some kind of image or find some kind of image. Spelling and grammar does count. You need to connect it to one of these 4 Renaissance developments. So we know the Renaissance artists and inventors, they were focused on humanism. So it has to connect to humans somehow. Or it has to connect to art, because they were focused on art. Or it has to connect to literature, which we'll see in just a second. Or it has to connect to science. Okay? So that's what we need from you. Connect your invention to one of those 4. So you just have to explain how it works, how it connects to one of those 4. Has to be creative and original. Give me a drawing. Watch your spelling and grammar. If you have questions, need help, send me an email. Pull me aside. I'd love to help you. Thanks, folks.